people in costume, like malevolent people in costume.
Yeah, and then they're like, right, lads, they've sobered up, and they were like, this has gone a bit too far, actually. We've kidnapped a child, just let him go.
We don't know what to do now.
We're coming down from that wild night.
They're like, we don't want kidnapping charges, so we can't just take him back. But we're not going to harm him, because they didn't physically harm him.
No, they just shit him up a bit.
So maybe it was like they shit him up when they were drunk, finding it all hee hee ha ha.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, as they were on the come down, they were like, I've never had beer fear like this.
We really fucked up. They wake up, they're like, did we kidnap a child? And he's just there like...
Merry Christmas!
Welcome to episode 9 of Spooky and Kooky.
If you're into anything weird, horror, conspiracy, paranormal, you're in the right place. We talk about anything a bit strange, really. So there's really no limits. Join us.
You'll have fun, promise.
So today is the Christmas episode, which will be out on the 19th of December. So a little early Christmas present for you.
Yeah. I don't really know what more to add to that. But yeah.
Just before we begin, we got Liv back. She's
Yay.
back. And I wanted to ask you guys, what's your favourite part about Christmas?
Oh, I think I don't know, I love the build up to Christmas more than actual Christmas. Actual Christmas, I'm always like,
Bit stressful.
Well, I don't know what I expect, like to suddenly
Anticlimax.
wake up in a Disney film. But
Yeah.
I'll
day's
tell
a
you
bit
what I do
bland.
love. I hate wrapping.
Yeah.
Like, cannot wrap presents to save my life. But when the scissors glide through that paper,
Yeah.
that is the dopamine hit that I need. So maybe
Is
that's
that your
my
favourite
part.
Okay. Right, Liv?
Just the cozy vibes, all the Christmas lights in the house and outside.
Yeah, that's cute.
That's a good
What
one.
about you?
Probably the food.
Yeah.
I'm a bit like my favourite holiday is Halloween.
Yeah, same.
So Christmas is just a bit much. Like too many obligations to fulfill, too many people to go and see. I always think it's so stressful getting everyone presents and
Oh yeah, the opening of presents. And even if it's something that you like, you're like, what is my face? Is my face okay?
Yeah.
Is it reflecting that I like the present?
Yeah. And it's not like you give someone a present, they can open it in the privacy of their own home because everyone's there, like your extended family's there, and it's just so I hate it.
Do you always get recorded? Because my mum always loves to record us opening presents, which is
Even
the
now?
worst. Yeah, even now. I hate it.
We don't, to be fair, my family don't really do presents anymore, so it's quite good actually that we don't have that
The pressure.
build up. Yeah, because I can get the camera out of my face.
Literally. It's making me sway. Just
Even watching someone open a present that I've got them though, I never know what to do because you don't want to sit there and be like.
And then we're like, oh, thanks, Albert. And you're like, yeah, no worries.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's fun.
What's your favourite Christmas song?
I love Feliz Navidad. I think that's
Yeah.
probably my favourite.
Yeah, I would say mine as well. What's yours?
That one's like, is that you, Santa Claus? Do you know that one?
No.
We're going to need more than that.
I can't remember the rest. That's just my favourite.
Do you know what else is a real bop? When you're in the car, I don't know if you guys listen to radio because I've got an older car, so I don't have Bluetooth, so I need the radio. That Ringwood Tyres advert.
How does it go?
It's like Jingle Bells, but like dubbed. And it's for Ringwood Tyres, and whenever that comes on, I'm like, oh, bop. I love that one.
I used to love the TJ Waste one. I used to know all the words.
Yeah. They get in your brain.
So sad. Yeah.
But anyway, Christmas and why we celebrate it. So obviously people celebrate it for the birth of Christ. But it was actually thought that Jesus is born in sometime in spring.
Oh, I thought it was summer.
This is the third thing I've heard now. So the things that I've read corroborated with what I've heard, which it's around spring and Easter time.
Right.
Kieran came out and said no, he was born in January, which I'd never heard, and now you've said summer.
So I know springtime, because that will be Easter.
Yeah.
That's his rebirth.
Yeah, but it was said he was just born. Like, obviously it didn't happen in the same year. But it was
Well,
just...
no, thank you for clarifying that.
It could have just been the same time at different years.
Oh, that you could have. Would you have 2 birthdays if you came back to life on a day? Would you make? I would have that as my other birthday.
But I think what we can take away is he probably wasn't born in December.
No, maybe
or
they were
whenever
like.
he was born, it doesn't. It's
They're probably like, we've not got much on in December. Should we just move that up?
That's literally why it kind of was, because it's a Christian repurposing of the holiday celebrations of the winter solstice.
Right. Yeah.
Which is where on the 22nd of December, the sun kind of appears to stand still in the sky, because solstice just means to stand still. So if you're ancient man, obviously many years ago, you look up at the sky and the sun's very low in the sky and it's sort of still there.
Yeah.
People would think the sun died and then came back to life on the 25th, where it would start moving in the sky again.
Oh, okay.
So they celebrated that time. And ancient, obviously, pagans, I don't know about you guys, I found this out not while researching this, but only quite recently. I thought paganism was where you worship the devil.
No.
Like a little while ago I thought it was. But now I know it's a really good religion. I don't know why people hate paganism. Or why Christians don't like demonise paganism, because it's nothing to do with the devil. It's about worshipping the sun. No,
it's like more nature, isn't it? Like
it's worshipping nature and respecting the natural cycles it goes through and sort of honouring those. So pagans would have a ancient tradition called Yule, which I'm sure you've heard of, and Romans would also have their own winter solstice celebration called Saturnalia. So I was just going to run through a bit about Yule, a bit about Saturnalia. I'll do Saturnalia first because this one's quite a sick celebration. I really wish I was an ancient Roman.
Sounds like some sort of like space convention thing.
Oh, so they did it to worship the god called Saturn.
Yeah.
And it was a week-long festival. Well, there are different reports actually, because obviously the Roman Empire spanned quite some years. So it's to be expected that it probably changed during that time and traditions changed during that time, but predominantly it was a week-long celebration starting on the 17th of December, and it would kick off with the priest leading a group of bulls through the streets, and they would go into the temple of Saturn and then sacrifice the bulls, and this festival would commence. No, I don't like that. There's a lot of sacrifices in these stories, to be fair. And in the festival, it's been compared to Mardi Gras.
Oh. Isn't it a bit cold for that?
Yeah, like they would party for 7 days and 7 nights.
Jesus.
So a lot of common traditions included gambling. They would give gifts during these times. They would have entertainment such as snake charmers, jesters and dancers. And they would have a big feast. And it said that there was endless wine flowing in these feasts. And when I tell the next bit, it's important to remember that the only reports we have of Saturnalia are from the upper class, wealthier Romans.
Right.
So it's one perspective on it.
Yeah.
So the god of Saturn was all about this kind of equality in society, and it was said when he ruled in Italy, before the Roman Empire, it was a golden age where everyone was just equal in society. There was no kings, no slaves, all of that. And they did this holiday to worship him. And one of the traditions they had was that the slaves could basically it was a purge for slaves because they could be waited on by their masters and they could actually insult their masters without getting beaten for a week.
Pretty sick.
And they would feast at the table with their masters as well and eat all of the foods that they wouldn't have normally been able to eat because they're slaves. But it just begs the question of people looked at that and celebrated it as this golden age. Why didn't you just set the slaves free all year round?
Yeah, that could have been every day.
If you thought that was a good thing, why didn't you do that? But the reason it's important to remember these accounts came from the upper classes, who were the slave owners, is because other reports said that they would break the rules all the time, and it would be like the slaves would still be able to dine with them, but actually they would only be able to mock them to a point.
Right.
Before they would be like, actually, that's enough now. And they would usually get children or like other lower class people to wait on them instead of doing it themselves, which, yeah.
They couldn't even go a week.
No, they were literally like, I'm not doing that. Fuck that.
Or pour my own wine. No.
Yeah. Don't be silly. And one Roman emperor provided free women of service, if you know what I mean, throughout the week.
How nice of him.
So that was quite good for them as well. It was just a fun little festival, but there were some people who didn't like it, and there was reports of one man who basically built a soundproof room and did his work for the whole week. Because businesses shut down and everything, like literally everything stopped and there was just this party going on in the streets for 7 days. And yeah, some people just didn't like it. And one bloke apparently built a soundproof room and just got on with his work. And honestly, I kind of respect that.
Well, I thought, oh, that sounds good, until you said work. And
Yeah, no, I wouldn't do my work. I would just sit in there like, oh, leave me alone.
Peace and quiet.
So that is Saturnalia. Oh no, there was one other thing that I read, but this wasn't in many reports I found, so I don't know how accurate this is, but apparently they would pick one guy at random to be the king of Saturnalia. Because during that time, emperors were equal with everyone. Like, that was the tradition, but they would pick at random one guy to be the king of Saturnalia, and he would be able to boss around everyone at the festival for that whole entire week. So you're thinking, oh, I feel like a G. Like, this is great. Until you realise it's quite a heavy cross to bear because you're sacrificed at the end of it to the god of Saturn.
Do they know that on a point?
I don't know. This is all I could find on it, so it was just like, but that surely after 1 year,
well, it
you
depends
know what's
how
coming.
Like, hush hush they keep it.
Yeah. They just disappear after that week, and they're just like, I don't know where he's gone.
Did you see Stephen after that? I think he dipped.
But you would get all the bossing in around. You could all the festivities out while you could if you were chosen at random.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd want to know or not.
I wouldn't want to be it. It's
No.
too much pressure even to boss people around and be the king of Saturnalia. But
if
to
you're
know
picked,
that,
then would you want to know or not?
yeah.
Like, would you have a better time for knowing?
Oh no, I would rather not know. But then I think it's kind of, I don't know if back in the day it was quite an honour to be sacrificed, like, because I don't know. I don't know, but you just know anyone being picked is just like, oh, for God's sake.
It is that opening a present, like, oh, I love it.
But they obviously can't deny it because they're the ones chosen.
Yeah.
I don't know who does the choosing either. If everyone just writes
that's
names into
true.
a hat and then they just pick it out, or there's a big like bingo ball.
A spotlight that then just randomly stops on someone. Spin the ball.
So, yeah, that was that. But it was said that they did this for the slaves, not only to honour the god of Saturn, but as almost a way to keep them slaves, because it was thought, we give them a week, they blow off some steam, they insult their owners, they don't have to work for a week, and they'll be cushy.
Well, this is like giving workers holiday, isn't it?
Yeah, they'll never have an uprising because they've got that week to hold on to.
Yeah, take a couple of days off.
So obviously, so that was Saturnalia. I'm now going to just run through a couple of traditions of Yule. And like I said, pagans celebrate the earth and its natural cycles. So Yule was a way to celebrate the winter solstice, and it's got a lot of Norse influence in it as well.
Yeah.
And instead of sort of running through what Yule was about, I'll just run through some common traditions that have kind of morphed into Christmas traditions we had today.
Yeah.
So one of them is that the Christmas tree actually originated from this time, because evergreen trees are quite a symbol of life in Norse tradition, because they obviously remain evergreen during the winter as opposed to everything else that died, and it was a way to kind of hold on to that life that was going to come back, because obviously winters were harsh back in the day.
Yeah.
They didn't have central heating, like it was difficult for them, so they held on to that through the evergreens, and they would decorate them with little offerings such as carvings, clothes and food to give that to the gods as a way of bringing back the trees and making the ground more fertile for the spring. And there was a dude who invented the idea of Christmas lights on a tree.
Yeah.
And he was called Martin Luther, not Martin Luther King. And he was a 16th century Protestant reformist.
Yeah.
Who one night was walking through the forest and he looked up at the night sky and he was enchanted by the twinkling stars in the sky, and he really wanted to recreate that for his family. So he went back home, and on an evergreen tree he put branches and candles on it, and that's why we sort of changed it to Christmas lights, but that was his idea. And I like him for that because they are really cozy.
I really thought you were going to be like, one night he had a dream, and I was like, oh.
When I heard the name, I was like, sorry? And mistletoe and holly also are believed to be plants with magical properties, and they were hung around the homes to encourage protection and renewal for the next year. So that's where that comes from as well. One tradition we don't really have over here, but that's quite big in Scandinavian countries, is the Yule goat. And the Yule goat is influenced by Thor. He had a chariot that was driven by two magical goats that he would eat every night, and they would magically spring back to life. So in Scandinavia, a lot of people have these straw goats that they hang around their homes during the period of Yule. So in the Swedish town of Givil, or Galv, Gulv.
Just pick one, go with it.
In the Swedish town of Gulf, they have a giant straw goat that in the past 50 years have been burnt down 35 times. And it's obviously
on
like...
purpose?
I think so, because it obviously has a metal structure and then straw stuck to it, so people keep sneaking in and setting fire to it, and they've gone as far to get like security guards around this goat, because they're like, please stop. We can't keep putting more straw on it. So, they worship that in Sweden, but obviously people keep getting through because it's a lot to be burnt down in the past 50 years.
That is a lot, yeah.
But also, in the 17th century, the goat became demonised, and it was thought that rogue goats kind of ran around the forests in Scandinavia around the time of Yule, scaring kids. So obviously not the greatest.
Why? What's so scary about a goat?
I don't know. They must have been rogue goats.
What does that mean?
They must have been demonic toes.
Taste for the flesh.
But in the 19th century, they made a comeback and people started worshipping them again. So much so that people would dress up in goat skin and go basically Christmas caroling, but in goat skin. And they would do it for rewards and gifts, much like Christmas carolers. And the best one of all is, instead of your grandpa dressing up as Santa Claus, he dressed up as a goat. And gave presents out.
Love that. Bring that back.
Yeah. It didn't have to be your grandpa. Some men would just do it and give out presents, but obviously my grandpa was dressed up as Santa. I don't know if yours...
No.
Did no one dress up as Santa?
No.
Oh, my
Think
grandpa
so.
would always dress up as Santa, and it was so weird to see it back on, like, obviously my mum would have the camcorder out, and my grandma would walk in with Father Christmas, and we would all be so gassed. Didn't make the connection that, where's Grandpa? A. Why is Grandma bringing Santa? Doesn't he have a magical sleigh? She pulls up in her Renault Scenic. Up and just bought Santa. And he had my grandpa's voice, like, on the camcorder footage, I'm like, that's Grandpa. You fools. But all my cousins and myself, we were all fooled by that. That got us. But yeah, I kind of wish it now that he was dressed up as a goat.
Do you like, would you sit on the goat's lap? Like, you know, all the kids go sit on Santa's lap? Or would it be like the goat and his other goats?
At the local market,
Yeah.
they've just got a local mall goat.
A man dressed as goats and then just actual goats just roaming around.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think they did used to sit on his lap. I think he just gave out presents, and obviously, I don't think that's how Santa evolved. But he was kind of in the place of Santa Claus, I guess you could say.
Would they be stood up or would they be on all fours?
I think they were stood up in goat skin.
Okay.
And some people would also, in the sort of tradition of Thor,
Yeah.
they would carry around a goat's head to be sacrificed. And then it was like a metaphor of the earth dying and coming back to life.
Okay.
But I don't know why it was a goat's head, because you're not even... like, by the time you've got a goat's head on its own, it's already been sacrificed.
Yeah.
But that's the way it was written. And it just confused me. But also around this time they had Yule loaves, which is something that you can make a unbreakable promise to someone that can be anything you like. And the consequence for not following it is you die.
Like an unbreakable vow.
That is literally what it is. So people would make these around their time. But obviously I don't know why they would die. I think it's just the legend. So you could you don't have to follow it really. I'm sure people knew it was just a loophole of just, I don't really have to do this.
Is that where the Yule log, did it evolve into the Yule log? Or is that
So the
its
Yule
own
log
thing?
is, I've actually got it here. So, in Yule celebrations, an oak tree would be cut down and the wood from the oak tree would be used to burn throughout the whole celebration of Yule. And it would be said to be really bad luck if it went out. And that's basically where the Yule log came from. And people also save some of the wood for fires all around the year, just for good luck. Or the fire next year for good luck.
How did that turn into chocolate?
I don't know, I guess it's just...
a symbol.
Yeah. Do your family have chocolate logs?
Not really.
Right around Christmas?
No. Just mince pies, which as a child I thought had actual mince meat in them.
Yeah, I never tried them. And I feel like because I never tried them and acquired my taste buds to it, I just don't like them now.
Yeah.
I think I've tried them like once and been like, that is not for me.
Yeah, you can get so many different versions.
Did your family eat chocolate logs?
I don't think so.
See, my
Christmas
family went
pies.
mad for them.
Oh, really?
Like, we are chocolate log fiends. I'm kind of... I'll eat it if any of the other puddings that are on offer we just don't like. But
Yeah.
honestly, my 3 cousins and my brother go mad for it, and they all want the end. The bit with, like, the
that
most
is
chocolate
best,
on.
Yeah.
And one year, I'll just tell you this, which is absolutely going to dig my cousin out, but I don't care. It's a good story. So one year we were all at my auntie's having Christmas dinner, and it was actually the first time my brother introduced his fiancée to the whole family. So just a really good time for it to happen. I think my auntie bought 3 chocolate logs for the occasion, just to make sure we all had enough chocolate log. And when it came time to serve pudding, one of my other cousins was eating Christmas lunch with us and then needed to go to his girlfriend's house. So he had left by the time pudding all came out. When it came to serve the chocolate logs, there was only 2 logs.
What, had he taken one?
We were all searching high and low for it until someone was like, do you think he took the 3rd log?
Outrageous.
And then I think someone rang him and he was like, no. I
Not
didn't
even
take
just
the
to
log.
cut a bit off and be like, I'll take that for later. To take the entire log.
No, he took the entire log, and I'm sure his girlfriend had chocolate logs. She must have known how much he liked them. Me and my brother speculate he might have just eaten it in the car like a Swiss roll. Like a mini roll. Just eating it whole. But I don't know that for a fact, but he did later admit to it. It was just on the
you
day.
You can't really not. I
No.
mean, the evidence is
we were
stacked.
searching everywhere for it. Like, where could it have possibly... Who has taken this log? And then, yeah, we rung him and he was like, no. No, I wouldn't do that.
A mouthful of log.
Yeah. But that's how mad we go for chocolate logs.
Next time, 4.
Yeah.
Get 4.
We might as well just get 5, 1 for each of us.
Yeah, at least you don't have to fight over who gets the ends. Although there is 2 on each
Yeah.
one, I suppose.
To be fair, I never like the ends, because the reason I'm not a big fan of the chocolate logs is because they're really quite sickly.
I just think they're quite dry. It's hard to find one that's not dry.
So you get the ones with like the hard chocolate on the outside, and then you get the
Yeah.
ones with the chocolate buttercream, which are usually the ones my family buy.
They're the good ones.
Oh no, they're so sickly.
Yeah, they are, to be fair. But
Yeah, I have to
they're-
smother it in cream just to get it down.
Yeah, how does cream make it less sickly? Because it really does, but it
It
doesn't
makes
make
it less.
any sense.
It makes it less dry.
Just slides down.
Yeah, but when there's only like sort of like lemon roulade or trifle on offer, I'm just like, nah. I've recently actually got into trifle, unrelated, but I've recently got into normal trifles. I used to only like chocolate trifle, but
Oh,
I
yeah.
tried some trifle somewhere. Can't even remember where it was, but I tried some and I was like, this isn't half bad. I've been eating chocolate logs all these years that I only like semi like. I mean, I could just not have pudding. I've already eaten myself into a stupor on Christmas Day with the
Yeah.
lunch. I could have just not had the chocolate log, but because it's there, I'm not going to have pudding. Even if I don't like anything on offer, I'll just pick the thing I dislike the least.
Oh, I wouldn't have it if I didn't want it. Well, although there's always something, I get what you mean. Like if there's something that you're like meh, I'd eat the meh.
And you need like that bit of sweetness.
Yeah.
Little something to finish you off, to put you in the proper food coma where you fall asleep.
Yeah.
And another one of my favourite Christmas traditions, which we don't do anymore, which really upsets me, is playing Monopoly.
Oh my god, I hate Monopoly.
Oh, I love
Who's
it.
ever finished a game of Monopoly? How this has broken up many a family.
So me and my my 3 cousins and my brother, we all used to love playing Monopoly, and we would have really long games. And my brother is not the person you want to play Monopoly with, because not so much now, like he wouldn't do it now, but when he was younger, I'm sure it's because he's ginger, he just had unchecked anger issues.
I was going to say, who was the person that would walk away in a strop? Because there's someone.
He wouldn't
It
just
was my
walk
brother.
away in a strop.
Throw
one year.
everything.
No, one year, you know the Hoover attachments? He came at us with a Hoover attachment. And he would have this theory that the more laps you do, that's how you win Monopoly. So the person who gets around the board the most times wins
Right.
Monopoly, which
Okay.
sort of makes sense. But he created a lap counter where he would just tally how many times we went around the board. Like, this was some serious, serious stuff in my house. And one year, I think he was doing the lap counter, and it must have been his calculations weren't, the math wasn't mathing for him. And he just broke down. I'm pretty sure it was on New Year's Eve that we played that year. And yeah, I always have very fond memories of it. Like,
Sounds great.
tables got flipped. We all had a cry.
That's why I hate it, because there
Yeah.
are no winners. No one wins Monopoly.
My cousin who actually stole the chocolate log, that cousin, he always used to cheat in Monopoly.
Everyone does. If you're the banker,
I
quids in.
didn't.
Everyone does at one time.
I never did.
Well then,
I
You're
probably
a
did
mug.
once or twice, actually. I don't want to say that because I probably did once or twice. But me, again, brother and cousins, made a Harry Potter Monopoly board game. I'm sure there's probably a version out now. by the makers of Monopoly, but we did a proper like board game. We put resin on it. We did all the properties. Yeah, we fought hard for it.
Do you still have it?
Somewhere.
That's pretty cool.
It's got to be somewhere. My mum better not throw it away. Because she hates Monopoly. So it would be.
It's the worst, to be fair.
She'd be like, no one wants this anymore. Last time we played it, it was when I was probably 19. So, good 9 years ago. That's the last time we played the Harry Potter Monopoly, and probably the last time we played Monopoly all as a family.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love Monops. And the reason I brought that up is because pagans also, well, Norse pagans also had a board game called Nefertafel, and it says that this would create both joy and frustration. So a lot like Monopoly.
It's relatable.
And that's what I've got.
Love that. Okay, well, I'll tell you a little bit about Krampus then. Right, okay, so Krampus. I would say, have you heard of Krampus? But I know we've all watched a horror film which had Krampus in, which we'll discuss at the end.
Yeah.
So we will indeed. So Krampus, for those of you who don't know, is sort of like anti-Christmas, really. So it was kind of like a good and evil thing. So you had Saint Nick, who would reward good children, and then you had Krampus, who would, I was going to say reward bad children, but it wasn't really a reward, punish bad children. So Krampus himself is depicted as a horned anthropomorphic figure, so with like humanish features.
Okay. I mean, I have said, after seeing the movie, I know what he looks like now, but I didn't before that.
Yeah, so always had a really long, like, forked tongue, cloven hooves. Sort of looked like how they would depict the devil.
Do you know what it reminded me of when I saw the picture of it in the movie? I'm sure you've seen it, but the Tenacious D film, The Pig of Destiny, when Dave Grohl comes out as the devil and he's doing the guitar solo, it was giving those vibes, but in white. Yeah.
But
I don't know if he's not always white or if that was just the film, but that's what it gave me.
I don't think he's always white.
Yeah.
Usually not, actually.
Oh, okay.
But that was quite a nice little snowy Krampus.
Yeah. A polar cramp.
And so he's often depicted carrying chains or bells. There's actually, we don't know why that might be, but I know the chains, like obviously sometimes he but the bells, no one's really sure why.
I guess that's just so you can hear him coming.
Probably.
Or maybe you mistake it for Saint Nick. You're like, oh, Santa's here, and then Krampus is like, that bitches.
And the name Krampus comes from the German word Krampen, which means claw, and it kind of makes sense, I guess, because he'll like, the story goes that he'll like drag naughty children away with him back to hell, or beat them, or just generally do something.
I mean, that is going to make you behave.
Yeah, I bet.
Because I just didn't want coal. But if I knew I was being dragged back to hell,
you knew Krampus might turn up. So, yeah, like I say, Krampus usually would go together with Saint Nick. And it was in pagan traditions of winter solstice that this first came about. And then it later became part of Christian traditions, where Saint Nick visited them to reward them on December 6th. But on December 5th would be Krampusnacht, which was Krampus night. So that's when Krampus would come to all the naughty children. And if they made it through the night, on December 6th, they would have presents from Saint Nick.
Was it literally just the naughty children then? It wasn't like...
Yeah, if you've been good, like Krampus wouldn't get you. It was only if you were naughty.
Because there's that other one, I think it's Belsnickel.
Belsnickel, yeah.
Who comes and he makes them recite a prayer or makes them do like a little song. And if you pass the test, then you're cushy, but if not...
Oh, see, I only know Belsnickel from The Office.
Yeah.
So I only know that as like naughty. It was like impish or admirable. So I didn't know anything.
Yeah, no, that's what Belsnickel does. He does you a little test.
And he has the stick as well, doesn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah. I love that episode. It's one of my favourite ones. So yeah, he would punish the naughty children, and he would usually have a birch branch which he would smack them with, and maybe he'd put you in his Krampus sack and take you away.
I imagine that to be like a little kangaroo pouch, like a Krampus pouch.
Yeah. You just go in his stomach.
And he's got a little pouch, and he's just got loads of children
Just
in
open
there.
it up, you just hear the screams. And then on December 6th as well, that's when they have Krampuslauf, which is the Krampus parade.
Oh, okay.
I've got like a few TikToks as well because I can show you it, because it looks amazing. But basically, loads of people in the town will dress up as Krampus, and then they all parade through the streets, and they'll like chase the crowd and like hit them with the sticks and stuff, and everyone gets a bit drunk.
Everyone takes it a bit far.
Yeah, probably. It's like another Halloween, basically.
Yeah.
Which is probably why I really want to go. But they do it all over Europe. So there's even like places in Italy that do it. But it's more like German and Austrian type affair. But that's what it is. As I was looking into Krampus, I also came across Krampus carton, which are like Krampus Christmas cards that people used to send. But some of them had like threats on them. Like I've saved a couple, so we'll put
So
them.
it's for
like,
people that you don't like.
Well, not necessarily. Like they're just really
Jokes.
Yeah, but some of them are like quite malevolent, and some of them are funny, and some of them are like women being chatted up by a Krampus, or like a sexy Krampus. It was really strange. But they originated in the late 19th and early 20th century, and again this was mainly in Germany and Austria. And yeah, it says unlike typical holiday cards that were designed to spread cheer, they were designed to be more mischievous and intimidating, and often depicted Krampus in various menacing poses. And so, like, he would be beating children in them and stuff. And they would have messages on there, which could be like little playful messages, or they could be
actual
a bit
threats.
Yeah. It was usually like Gruß vom Krampus, which is greetings from Krampus.
Oh.
But yeah, it's just really weird.
I don't want greetings from Krampus.
Just a little bit kooky. And then I've got a little story about Krampus as well.
Okay.
Since I couldn't really find that much. There's not really much to say about him. I mean, he is what he is. But, okay, so in the small alpine village of Tyrol, I think it's Tyrol, in Austria, the legend of Krampus was taken very seriously. Each year during Krampusnacht on December 5th, villagers would dress up as fearsome Krampuses, parading through the streets and instilling both fear and excitement in the local children. In December 1954, a young boy named Joseph, aged 9, went missing on the night of Krampusnacht. The entire village was engrossed in the festive chaos of Krampuslauf when Joseph disappeared from his family's home. His parents, frantically searching through the crowd, asked if anyone had seen their son, but no one had. The villagers banded together to search for Joseph, scouring the nearby woods and mountains. The local authorities were alerted, and for days, the search parties combed every nook and cranny of the surrounding area. Despite their efforts, there was no sign of Joseph, and the village, steeped in tradition of Krampus, feared the worst, that the legendary creature had taken him. Miraculously, a week later, Joseph was found wandering near the edge of the forest, dishevelled and in a daze. When questioned about his disappearance, Joseph's story sent shivers down the spines of everyone who heard it. He claimed that the night he had been lured away by a group of Krampus figures. At first, he thought it was all part of the night's festivities, but soon realised that these Krampuses were not the villagers in costumes. Joseph described being led deep into the forest by these strange, eerie figures. He was kept in a dark, cold cave where the Krampus creatures taunted him and made menacing sounds. The cave was filled with the smell of decay and the sound of chains rattling. Joseph could not recall how he managed to escape or why the Krampuses eventually let him go. While Joseph was physically unharmed, he was deeply traumatised by the experience. The villagers, shaken by the boy's account, doubled their efforts to protect the children during future Krampusnacht celebrations. Some began to believe that the legend of Krampus was more than just a myth, as Joseph's story lent a new layer of fear and mystery to the already eerie tradition.
So is that real?
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm just thinking how I get that when he came back he said, yeah, it was Krampus's, but how irresponsible of a whole town to be like, is it the Krampus? Instead of being like, we have a missing child on our hands, send out the Amber Alert.
I mean, they did do that. They did look for
Yeah,
it.
I would hope so. When I heard that, I was like, sorry, is this a group of adults?
They're like,
or the
well-
police just like, it is Krampus night.
He's with Krampus now.
He's obviously been naughty.
It is the perfect opportunity to commit some sort of kidnapping crime, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, for sure. But
Scapegoat Krampus.
yeah, I thought there was only one, but the fact that there's a group of them living in a cage.
Yeah,
In
living
a,
in
not
a cage.
a cave. Yeah.
Or, do they just live there for one night? Or
Yeah. Could he leave them back to the cave or...
yeah, but
Like, is he sure it wasn't just people in costume, like malevolent people in costume?
yeah, and then they're like, right lads, they sobered up and they were like, this has gone a bit too far actually. We've kidnapped a child, just let him go.
We don't know what to do now.
We're coming down from that wild night.
They're like, we don't want kidnapping charges, so we can't just take him back. But we're not going to harm him, because they didn't physically harm him.
No, they just shit him up a bit.
So maybe it was like they shit him up when they were drunk, finding it all hee hee ha ha.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, as they were on the come down, they were like, I've never had beer fear like this.
We really fucked up. They wake up, they're like, did we kidnap a child? And he's just there like...
They're like, oh my god, what did I do last night? They just wake up in a cave and Joseph sat there like...
What
Okay.
a funny story though to tell retrospectively.
I mean, if I was Joseph, I would have been shat up myself.
Yeah, literally. You would never be naughty again.
Never step a toe out of line.
Literally.
I've got another anti-Santa figure, and he is called Père Foutard.
Père.
I've butchered that pronunciation because it's French, so I know it's going to be something like Père Foutard.
Wow. Flawless.
So in Père Foutard, he basically translates to Father Whipper, and we can all guess why. He is also a helper of Saint Nick who goes through the night to help him in distinguishing the naughty from the nice children. And it originates, I'll read the story. So, where did this decidedly uncuddly fellow come from? The legend, which goes back to the Middle Ages, tells us of 3 little boys who were lost in the woods. A butcher found them and decided that, since he hadn't had much luck on his hunt that day, these 3 little tender morsels would do. He chopped them up for meat and put them in a salt barrel to cure. St. Nicholas came to the butcher shop and the evil man tried to sell him a piece of his best meat. But Nick loved children and couldn't be fooled. He resurrected the boys, pieced them back together and took them to their parents. The butcher started travelling with St. Nick and became known as Père Foutard, Father Whipper. It's not clear how he and Nick became buddies. I feel like that's a crucial flaw in the story. I feel like folktale really needs to think things through before they just start saying stuff.
They became pals.
But it seems that Father Whipper is no longer allowed to eat, beat, or abduct children. I'm pretty sure his only job these days is to scare them into good behaviour, and he carries a whip, but I don't think he's allowed to use it. So, I mean, that's good that Father Christmas was like, I don't really like what you're doing here, but you can come with me and scare them.
Here is a whip, decorative only.
We'll find a good middle ground.
It's like, can I use it? He's like, no, well, no. It looks cool.
It's like, oh, Father Christmas wants some meat.
I made a stew for you this Christmas.
I've been very nice. Not naughty at all. But yeah, he was also quite, there wasn't much on him either. I think these anti-Santa Clauses are all kind of the same.
Yeah.
Because you've got Bell's Nickel, there's another one which is like a witch-like creature called Free Petra.
Or she, like, flies down the chimney.
Yeah.
Because
I'm pretty sure she also has a whip.
Was it that she didn't bring a present to baby Jesus and now she's, like, trying to make up... It was something like that, and I thought, that's bizarre.
That's a bit of a reach.
Yeah. Now she thinks that if she just gives the presents to all the children that she'll be, like, fine.
I'm Kushti.
I remember my neighbour was from Holland and they used to do a thing where they would put their shoes outside their door for Saint Nick, and then they would have an orange in them.
I've not eaten a shoe orange.
At least you peel the skin off.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Did you ever leave out, like, obviously
We did, like, the milk and cookies,
Yeah.
and a little letter to Santa.
Oh.
And we got reindeer food, which I look kind of like muesli to me. I don't really know what it was.
Just something to sell.
Yeah. Which then just gets thrown in the bins.
I once left a letter out to Santa that said, Santa, please sign here. And it obviously had like a little line. And it was in the sort of age, I don't know what exact age I was, but it was in that age where you're sort of coming to terms that Santa might not be real.
Yeah.
So I was trying to cling on to any evidence that I could to be like, no, he's real, everyone. Like, stop it. Because my brother had probably learnt at this time that he wasn't real. So I imagine that's where the fear came from. Or kids at school were probably telling me he wasn't real. And I was just like, my faith is with St. Nick. So I left it out. And my mum, being the creative character that she is, and me being the naive child that I was, she just got my cat's paw, put it in the mud, and then put it on the bit of paper and said it was a reindeer stamp. And I was just there eating it up. I showed my grandparents, took it with me to any family gathering we went to be like, I actually have St. Nick's autograph.
Sit down, everyone.
She couldn't just take a pen.
I thought you were just say she did it with her other hand.
But that would have been bad. She couldn't have just made a Father Christmas thing. I don't know whose idea it was, actually, my mum or my dad's, but I can just imagine them like doing it and just cruising. And one of them just being like, are you sure she'll fall for this? And they're just like,
100%.
yeah. And it worked. So.
I mean, they had a real laugh about it, like that night, about how gassed you were for that.
Imagine me coming in the next morning, they're just sat there like... No one fucking laugh.
That's the thing, how did they do that?
My dad's chuckling and mum's just... Shut up. Yeah.
Oh dear. Christmas stories.
Spook stories.
Spook stories. Are yours ghost stories?
Yeah. It's
Okay.
got ghosting, yeah.
Alright, well, I'll go into my first ghost story. This is The Mistletoe Bride. Once upon a cold, wintry night in the early 17th century, the grand halls of Bramshill House were alive with the sounds of joy and celebration. The manor, nestled in the heart of Hampshire, was adorned with festive decoration, and this is allegedly a true story.
Great.
Yeah. holly, ivy, and the sweet scent of pine from the towering Christmas tree at the centre of the grand hall. The occasion was the wedding of Anne, the beloved daughter of Sir John Cope, to a nobleman from the neighbouring estate. Anne, a vision of beauty in her white wedding gown, glided through the crowd, her heart filled with joy and love. The guests, dressed in their finest attire, toasted to the happiness of the newlyweds, as laughter and merriment echoed throughout the halls. Mistletoe hung from every doorway, and the soft glow of candlelight cast a warm, magical ambience over the celebration. As the night progressed, a playful idea took among the guests to play a game of hide and seek. Eager to join in the fun, Anne suggested that she would be the one to hide. The guests agreed, and with a mischievous smile, she kissed her new husband under the mistletoe before dashing off into the labyrinth of corridors of Bramshill House. Anne's laughter echoed faintly as she sought the perfect hiding spot. She wandered through the dimly lit hallways and climbed winding staircases, her gown trailing behind her like a whisper of snow. At last she found herself in an old, seldom used room at the far end of the manor, and in the corner of the room stood a large, ornately carved oak chest, its heavy lid slightly ajar. This would be perfect, Anne thought, her heart pounding with excitement. She lifted the lid and carefully climbed inside, gently closing it. The chest, with its spring lock, clicked shut, securing her inside. Anne waited in the dark, stifling her giggles as she anticipated the thrill of being found. Meanwhile, the guests began to search for her, calling out Anne's name and scouring every nook and cranny of the manor. What started as a game of laughter and light-hearted fun soon turned to confusion and concern as minutes stretched into hours, and there was no sign of the bride. Her new husband, frantic with worry, led the search, his calls growing more desperate with each passing moment. The once joyous atmosphere of Bramshill House was now filled with tension and fear. The guests combed every room, cupboard and closet, but the bride remained elusive. As the night turned to dawn, the realization began to sink in. Anne was truly missing. Days turned into weeks, and the manor was shrouded in grief. The guests returned to their homes, and Sir John Cope, heartbroken, called off the search. The joyous wedding celebration had become a tragic memory, and Anne's disappearance became a sorrowful legend that haunted Bramshill House. Many years later, during renovations to the manor, workmen discovered an old chest in the forgotten room. As they pried open the heavy lid, they were met with a heart-wrenching sight: the skeletal remains of a bride still dressed in her wedding gown, her delicate hands clutching the sides of the chest in a final desperate attempt to escape. The discovery sent chills throughout the discovery sent chills through the manor, and the story of the mistletoe bride spread far and wide. It is said that each Christmas Eve, the ghostly figure of Anne roams the halls of Bramshill House, her ethereal form draped in mistletoe and her white gown billowing like the wisp of winter fog. She searches endlessly for her lost love, her presence a haunting reminder of the tragic game that stole her away. How terrifying when you hear that click on the chest. You'd be like, oh shit.
They need to find me.
Yeah,
now.
please find me. This is not the
How
game
did
I
they
want to
not
win.
I know it was a forgotten room, but she found it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, surely they got the police in.
Well, it took 50 years till they found her. 50 years, yeah. She was in there.
It must have been really, really hard to get to because the smell as well. I guess she was in a chest. You don't know how sealed that chest was. Oh, that's creepy.
That's grim. Merry Christmas.
So I've got a story that's called, it's a Reddit story, and it doesn't have a name on it. It says deleted where the name should be, so who knows who this is from.
Thank you, deleted.
And the title is I portrayed Santa Claus at my local mall for 20 years. So I'm going to read it in its entirety, and I won't lie. This guy has bit of a hero complex of the fact that he's a mall Santa, and that will become apparent because the majority of the story is just him saying how great it was to be a mall Santa.
Okay.
So I do apologise, but I'll go through it all so you get the full effect of it. So, for the past 20 years, I have had the privilege to portray the iconic Santa Claus at my local mall. For safety purposes, all names and locations within this writing have been changed, but the context remains the same. 20 years ago, I took the iconic role as Santa Claus at my local mall. Christmas is my new favourite holiday, and I always had the Santa Claus build anyway. I was a somewhat overweight gentleman who was able to grow a long beard during the winter season. All I had to do was dye my beard white, don the red suit, and I'd be golden. I worked on the voice to my best of my ability to ensure I didn't sound like a 20-something guy. I had the voice, the suit, the beard, the look, and everything else I needed to get ready for the Christmas rush. Outside of the red suit, I'm just an electrician who makes a decent wage, but every year for 20 years after Thanksgiving, I was Santa Claus, a beacon of joy and happiness to little kids around the world. In my 20 years on the job, I learned the most valuable lesson of all. Never promise anything. There will be kids that ask a lot for Christmas, things that most parents couldn't have even dreamed of affording. I was taught from day one that you always say the following: Santa will see what he can do. Making promises was the last thing you wanted to do. Some parents could barely afford their children decent clothes, let alone a new video game system or whatnot. I've held back tears numerous times whenever a kid would ask for something as simple as a new toothbrush. The great thing about this mall was that there was no fee to sit on my lap. The only fee came if you wanted a picture to take home, which was an even $5 for a nice 8x10 and 2 wallet prints. Do you see what I mean?
Slip that in there. Promo code: Santa's got a new sleigh 2025.
This is all irrelevant, pretty much. Like, the only thing he needed to say was I portrayed Santa at the local mall. But it continues.
No. You need to know how great it was, how humbling.
I brought joy to many.
I am an
Anyway.
icon.
The cross. This past Christmas was the toughest because it was my last year portraying Santa Claus. All of the mall employees hugged me every day when I came into work outside of the costume. Did that happen? Probably not. I'm surprised
Please
it wasn't
don't
like they
leave
held a
us.
procession for me every day when I came to work. They just lined the hallways and clapped.
They all had their arms out and I went through the arch.
By this time, I was pushing 50 and still working as an electrician, but I always thought that portraying Santa Claus was my best job ever. All good things must come to an end, they say, and thus did my run as the iconic Santa. The day after Thanksgiving, known as Black Friday to most, was the first day of my last 10 years as Santa. There was tears, mostly from me, but I knew whoever was taking my place was going to do great. But not as good as me. That he didn't say that. I just had
He
to
meant
put
well. Also, if he quit when he was 50, surely that's prime Santa time.
I don't know why he quit either. You clearly love doing this.
Yeah.
The turnout this year was far better than anyone had ever imagined. I think word got out that simple man himself, Ted Bridges, that's me, was retiring as Santa, and they wanted one last memory with a man that has done it for 20 years.
Stop.
Really humbling.
They came from far and wide.
Wait for the next bit. Really humbling. I'm not that special.
But worth the trip overnight.
For the most part, the kids were great, as usual. Sure, there were some kids that were a bit spoilt, for lack of a better word. They asked for ridiculous things like drones, the newest iPhones and iPads. These kids were barely over 10. They shouldn't need these things, right? Or was I just getting older? Get on with the point. Remember, this is a horror story.
We're no further. We have not missed any vital information.
Literally, that could have been done in 2 sentences. For the last 20 years, I've portrayed Santa at my local mall.
Loved it.
This year was my last.
Now I'm retiring.
Great times were had by all. Right. Friday, December 23rd was my last shift, the night before Christmas Eve. The mall was packed with... Wait, when I first read this, I didn't clock on that Black Friday spiel was literally just to tell us that he had the best turnout ever because he was much beloved. It wasn't the night that this happened. Because now I'm just clocking on. We went from Black Friday to Friday, December 23rd.
He just needs to reinforce the fact.
I did the best job that anyone could have ever wanted or wished for me to do.
I'm sorry, Christmas is now cancelled. Since I have retired.
Christmas is nothing without Ted Bridges, my local mall Santa.
It's now a joyless husk of a holiday.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ted Bridges, if you're out there. I'm sure you did do a great job, but seriously, man.
Way to toot your
Story.
own horn. Jesus.
Okay. Friday, December 23rd was my last shift the night before Christmas Eve. The mall was packed with last-minute shoppers and families with kids coming to see me. Do you know, in my head I was like, oh, I'm going to add that bit on at the end, coming to see me, and then I just read it like, oh,
You don't
no,
need
you
to.
said it. Okay. This last day was easily the toughest one to date, as I knew after that day I'd be moving on from playing Santa Claus. I know this seems strange, but after a while I started to believe I was actually Santa Claus. Crazy, right? Yes.
Well, Ted's got to come home for Christmas sometime.
What set me apart from other mall Santas was the fact that I never took a break.
Fuck me.
I would be there from 10 in the morning until 7 in the evening. But I never once took a lunch or a break. Santa never took breaks, and neither would I.
Santa gets most of the year off, may I say.
That day went by faster than I could have ever explained, and at 7 o'clock it was time to wrap it up. I was beginning to leave when I noticed a little girl slowly approaching me. I smiled. "Why, hello, young lady. Where are your parents?" She didn't speak. She kept walking towards me and held her arms out as if she wanted me to be picked up. As if she wanted me to pick her up. I looked around for her parents and I didn't see anyone that was looking for her. I picked the little girl up and sat her on my lap. "What is your name, young lady?" "Lisa." "Lisa? My, what a beautiful name you have. What is your last name, Lisa?" "Wheeler." I took this information to relay a radio message to the name Lisa Wheeler broadcast over the mall speaker system, and that way her parents would come and find her. While this was happening, I kept her company. "What do you want for Christmas, Lisa?" She didn't answer. She looked off into the distance as if she were in a trance. She then looked up at me with the cutest set of blue eyes. "A friend," she said. I was a bit taken aback by that answer. In my 20 years of being Santa, I've never had any kids say that they wanted a friend for Christmas. I patted her on the head. "Ho, ho, ho, I'll be your friend, Lisa. Santa Claus will always be your friend." She smiled, gave me a hug, and hopped down off my lap. I tried to make her stay put until the security came, but she ran off. I weighed about 300 pounds at this time, that's with the red suit, and no matter how fast I ran, I couldn't catch up with her. I saw Lisa turn a corner into a department store, and when I did the same, there was no sign of her. I started asking all around if anyone had seen this little girl, about 4 feet tall, long blonde hair, blue eyes, pigtails, in a pink and white dress. No one had seen her. Security came and asked where she went. When I told them that she ran into the department store, they started to become worried. "Did the parents show?" I asked. "Not yet. Maybe she wandered off from home and came here." I was getting more and more worried as time went on, but after a thorough search of the mall, there was no signs of Lisa Wheeler. She had disappeared. It was around 1 in the morning when they finally told me I should go home and get some sleep, but I couldn't sleep knowing I let a defenceless little girl leave. I laid in my bed all night, staring at the ceiling. I kept thinking how I let that little girl down. I should have been able to catch up with her and keep her safe. The next morning, I woke up, so he did manage to sleep, made some breakfast and got on the computer to do a little research. I thought if I could find her parents, I could let them know where she was last seen, if she hadn't been found yet. I googled the name Lisa Wheeler Parkersburg in Google. What came up was missing child. 9-year-old Lisa Wheeler was reported missing by her mother, Miranda Wheeler, on February 6th at approximately 9 a.m. She was last seen wearing a pink and white fleece dress as well as her hair in pigtails. She is approximately 4 feet 2 inches tall, weighing at 75 pounds and has blonde hair and blue eyes. If you have any information regarding the whereabouts of Lisa Wheeler, please contact the Parkersburg County Police Department. Nothing made sense. February 6th, I just saw her the night before on the 23rd. Perhaps it was a typo, but the more I researched, the more uneasy I became. The next article sent shivers down my spine. Breaking news. The body of 9-year-old Lisa Wheeler was found today, February 16th, in a frozen ravine a mile outside of her home. Parkersburg police are investigating the cause of death, which appears to be an act of foul play. Lisa Wheeler was gone. She died nearly a year before I met her. All she wanted was a friend. I thought there was going to be a little edit underneath, like, case of Lisa Wheeler solved. Local mall Santa is to blame. But that wasn't.
Global hero.
Do you see what I mean about the hero complex?
Fans travel from worldwide. That's creepy though. I hate kid ghosts. They're
Yeah.
so scary.
I don't think it's real though, obviously, because
Well,
I don't. Yeah,
I
obviously
don't
you
know.
can't look it up because the names are changed and everything. Otherwise, I would have done
I
some
was just
digging.
about to
It's a
do
bit
that.
annoying. Yeah, so Lisa Wheeler would be a different girl.
To be fair, I'm very gullible, and I was like, why would that not be true? He said it is.
To be fair, I don't know if you could make up that you were that proud of being a mall Santa. I think that part is generally probably true.
Yeah, but he was like, no one seems to find it interesting when I talk about it, so I'm just going to add in a ghost story.
Yeah, no one likes me as just a common mall Santa, so I'm just going to say that a missing child came to visit me.
And
After
it is
her
my
death.
personality. I won't lie. I do mention it to everyone I meet.
I never take breaks. By the end of the day, he just slumped over in his chair like, get on then.
You know what sets me apart? I don't say breaks. Oh, God. Okay. Okay, I've got another ghost story for you. In the early 1920s, the quaint town of Bargoed, so it's not going to be how you say it, Wales, was bustling with excitement of the holiday season. Families were preparing for Christmas, and the air was filled with the scent of pine. Love that scent of pine.
That's my favourite Christmas scent is frosted pine.
Yeah. And the sound of festive carols. Amidst the seasonal cheer stood Gladstone Villa, a grand Victorian house known for its imposing architecture and rich history. A man named William moved into Gladstone Villa with his wife, children, and his elderly mother. The family was looking forward to a new beginning in their beautiful new home, unaware of the sinister presence that awaited them. As Christmas approached, the family busied themselves with holiday preparations. The children helped decorate the tree, and Margaret baked delicious treats for their Christmas feast. However, strange occurrences began to unfold. Doors would creak open and shut on their own, and a cold, eerie draught would sweep through the house, chilling the occupants to the bone. One evening, as the family gathered around the fireplace, they heard the distinct sound of footsteps echoing throughout the empty hallways. William, ever the skeptic, dismissed it as the old house settling. That is a classic dad line, isn't it? Oh, it's the pipes.
Yeah.
But Margaret, who was more attuned to the supernatural, felt a growing sense of unease. On Christmas Eve, the family gathered around the fire to share stories and enjoy the festive season. As they sang carols, they heard a loud, mournful wail echo throughout the house. The sound seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere all at once. Determined to find the source of the noise, William grabbed a lantern and ventured into the dark hallways. As William searched the house, he felt a sudden chill, and the hairs on the back of his neck stood on end. Turning a corner, he was confronted by a shadowy figure standing at the foot of the stairs. The figure was tall and indistinct, its face obscured by darkness. William's heart raced as the figure moved closer, emanating a cold, malevolent presence. He tried to call out, but his voice was paralysed by fear. The apparition raised a hand and a gust of icy wind swept through the hallway, extinguishing the lantern's flame. The figure vanished as quickly as it had appeared, leaving William in darkness. He stumbled back to the living room, shaken and terrified. The next morning, Christmas Day, the family awoke to a heartbreaking discovery. Edith, William's elderly mother, had passed away in her sleep. Her peaceful expression seemed at odds with the turmoil of the previous night. The family was devastated by the loss, and the strange occurrences only intensified their grief. Desperate for answers, William invited a local priest to bless the house. The priest performed a ritual and assured the family that the spirits would be at peace. For a time, the haunting seemed to subside, but every Christmas Eve, the family would still hear the mournful wail and catch glimpses of the shadowy figure. That's it. Christmas ghost.
Nice ghost for Christmas.
Yeah. I wonder what happened there.
Ooh.
And if it killed Edith, if she was smiling, then I'm guessing. Well, it didn't say she was smiling. It said she looked peaceful. She's just like...
In her peaceful rest.
Yeah. Yeah. Good old Krampus. Edith couldn't fit in the sack. She was a grown woman's size.
She could have just died.
Yeah, she could have just died.
But I guess we'll never know.
No.
But that is creepy, and it definitely probably wasn't the pipes.
It doesn't sound like it was. No.
Some men just can't accept that it might not be rational.
There could be something that you just can't explain.
There might be something outside of our reality that is scary.
Yeah.
You can't control it. It's not the pipes. It's not me being irrational. On to the Watchery.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, the
Yes.
Watchery is going to be participation from all, because we have all watched this film.
I'm so happy about it, honestly. Because sometimes I make notes, but I rarely make notes on the Watchery parts.
Yeah.
So it's just doing it all from memory, and it's a lot of pressure to get it sequenced in my brain.
Oh, you know
So
what? I'm
I'm
really
just so
bad with that.
glad
And when
that-
I was trying to think about it, I thought, wow, this must be really hard for you when you do this. And you do it well. So, you know, you're a bit of a mole Santa.
I was about to say, I'm like, I can't even remember his
You're
name,
Ted.
Ted Bridges.
Oh, I didn't remember his
I
surname.
don't know if it was Ted Bridges, but yeah, I just work tirelessly with no breaks.
I just want to point out I don't take a break.
But yeah, no, I'm so glad this week that you guys are participating. I'm just going to sit back and relax.
Well, because there is this film, so it's what, the Christmas horror... What?
This
Christmas...
So basically, we
Christmas
all
Horror Story.
watched
A
A Christmas Horror Story. It's on Amazon, and this story is a bitch to talk about because
There's thrice.
it's...
Oh, maybe we could each do
Was-
a bit.
I like
Was
Of...
it only 3?
Yeah, there
was
was
4
3.
stories.
No, there was 3 stories.
There was 4.
there's
I
a
can think
family.
there's the family,
The family.
the Christmas Santa,
Yeah.
the girl who goes down to the basement,
Oh, yeah.
and
4.
the changeling.
Yeah.
Could possibly be 5 and one I'm forgetting, but those are the 4 that I remember. So I'm glad that I don't have to narrate this on my own.
There's a lot. There's a lot to get through. And only one story, yeah, I didn't see how it was going to end. Because that's what I hate, is you can always guess the plot.
Was that the Mall Santa?
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that your favourite?
Yeah.
That was my favourite. Which one did you like the best?
Yeah, I like that one.
More
Like
Santa
the
one.
Curveball.
Yeah. Yeah. So the Mall Santa one was basically that his little elves had been overtaken by Krampus.
Yeah, so basically it all started with Santa making his preparations for Christmas. And then one of the elves didn't want to eat one of the cookies that Mrs. Claus had made. And then he got a bit fiery, didn't he? And kind of like swore at Santa, which was kind of weird. And then it turns out he had some sort of infection,
Yeah.
which elves aren't supposed to die, according to the
Yeah.
film. So this was unheard of and unprecedented.
Yeah.
And this was some sort of like zombie-like disease that seemed
Yeah.
to spread through all the elves.
The
They
elves
would like
kept
come
dying
back
and come
from
back to life.
yeah,
and try
come
and
back to
attack
life.
Santa, and Mrs. Claus then got taken by it.
Yeah. And Santa was just, I don't know, he was just
Slaying
going,
them.
he was
Yeah.
slaying them with his
Slaying
big old
all his
golden
elves.
staff.
Yeah, I also really like the name of the elves, Shiny, Jingle.
Yeah, Jingles.
Yeah, I can't remember the other
Sparkle?
one. Yeah,
Sparkle
Sparkle.
was
Yeah,
one.
they were really cute. But then the twist is that he was really just a mall Santa. He was really just Ted Bridges.
Yeah, so the one constant in the film was that it was being narrated sort of, or the timeline, it was like the radio host, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about him.
Who I can't remember his name, but I know
Yeah.
he was in Star Trek.
William Shatner.
William Shatner, yes. He was doing the local Christmas radio. And yeah, so he was like central to the whole thing, really.
Yeah.
When it went off to all the different stories, it would come back to him,
Yeah,
and he would be
doing
going
like a
throughout.
countdown to Christmas.
Yeah, doing like an all-nighter. And that's where we first met Norm, the mall Santa,
Yeah.
because he was off on his way and he asked, I can't remember what question he asked Norm, but then he held up a little thing that said "fuck Christmas."
Yeah.
Don't know what Norm's deal was. They never went into
Yeah.
it. But yeah, it got to at the end when he was in the stables with his reindeer, and then Krampus came in, didn't he? And then
Yeah.
it turned out that Krampus was the one that was spreading this infection, which
Yeah.
didn't really make sense, because why would Krampus do that? That's not his MO. And then it kind of started blurring with reality, didn't it?
Yeah.
Which was the fact that he was actually a mall Santa that had had some kind of psychotic break
Yeah.
and had actually killed
Everyone
the
in his
inhabitants
path.
of the mall.
Everyone in his path, and he starts recognising what he's done,
Yeah.
and then the police actually have to engage in.
Taking him down. But
Yeah.
even as they're doing that, he's still shifting back to it being Krampus.
Yeah, it's really bizarre. That was the one I did like. And then there was another story of the family.
Yeah, they were all very impish on
Like-
the impish list.
They turned up to their aunt's house,
Yeah, so
uninvited, for Christmas.
yeah, and his aunt lived in this really
Yeah.
fancy.
A family of
Manor.
4,
Yeah.
uninvited for Christmas.
Well, and it was just basically the dad trying to swindle the aunt for money,
Yeah.
because he essentially was running this scam business where he was just paying off
Yeah.
debts.
And he told his wife, I'm going to go to jail.
Yeah. He
I'm
got
sorry, I'm in so much debt and I'm going to go to jail.
yeah, so it was him, his wife, and then a son and daughter, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And as they were driving away from the aunt's house, which they got kicked out of, rightfully so, their car, well, they nearly hit something that rushed
Yeah.
across the road, and then their car span out, and then they couldn't get the car started again because it was just spinning in the
Yeah.
snow. And then it was a son, wasn't it, that got taken
Yeah.
first by Krampus. Turns out it was Krampus that ran across the road.
Yeah.
And the son got taken first. It was like a flare gun
Yeah.
that went off, hit the dad,
Yeah.
like skimmed him, went into the snow. The son went over to pick up the flare,
Yeah.
and then he got hooked by
Yeah.
Krampus's chains and
Yeah.
dragged into the snow. They all sort of kind of,
Seek shelter in a church.
yeah,
And the dad's like, maybe we need to repent our sins. And then
which they never did.
He
They-
did.
Well,
he,
they
he
did.
came
He
out
didn't
about
say
the job
sorry. He
thing.
just said about it.
Yeah, but he made a confession. Then Krampus came in with the chains and took him away.
He got pulled out the window, didn't he?
Yeah. The wife and the daughter went into the confession box, and then a tongue came underneath the door.
And was like licking the daughter's leg.
Yeah, and then the mum was like, just run, and sacrificed herself to Krampus so the daughter could get away.
Once I make my move.
So then she went back to the aunt's house, didn't she?
Yeah.
And it turns out that the aunt knew Krampus was coming and would attack their family, so shoved them out.
Yeah, to protect herself, basically.
Yeah, but then the daughter had Krampus's spirit in her by that point?
No, so it was at that point that the aunt explained that Krampus isn't one person.
Yeah.
It basically will choose a person to go into, a person that is like bitter, basically. So the daughter's like, you know what? I'm feeling a bit bitter about this situation, so take me, Krampus. Then she turns into Krampus and kills the aunt. I don't think we see her do that, but
No, we just know
it's
that
alluded
happens. And then you've got the kids who go down into the school basement. I don't even know how to narrate this one because I'll be honest, I don't remember what happened and I don't care to remember.
So
it was dull.
It was, yeah. I mean, it was led to nothing really.
Yeah.
Basically, what it was they were recording some sort of like documentary thing for school, and at their school, underneath the school, for whatever reason, was this. Was it like a convent? Or like they would basically do abortions down there on girls back in the day. And anyway, last Christmas, 2 schoolmates had been murdered there. And some text was written on the wall in blood about something about a killing and then a son is born or something along those lines. I can't remember exactly what it was. So they were given the keys by the girl who was in the family that became Krampus. She had the keys because I think her dad... I don't really know why she had the keys. They never really explained that. But she had the keys. So she gave them the keys so they could let themselves inside. The head teacher was there, which they never explained why he was there. They had to hide from him. He was on the phone saying about how they had to be careful or something. That was never explained. Yeah. Don't know what that was about. Then they went into the basement bit where the hauntings, you saw that girl a couple of times, so that clearly it was haunted. And there was the medical chair left there with blood on from all the abortions that they were doing. And then, it was a bit odd. It started getting cold.
Possessed.
Yeah, she started. Well, one of the boys kept seeing the ghost girl around. Then she, saw the ghost girl behind his shoulder, and then as she saw it, she was having some sort of seizure. Turns out, she was possessed by the girl. And then she lured one of the boys into one of these bedrooms with a cross on the wall and basically tried to sleep with him. He turned her down because he was the boyfriend of the girl who was Krampus. So we see her leave, don't see what happened to him.
No.
And then she wakes the other boy up, sleeps with him,
but
sort of, gets on him.
Like they were depicting kids basically as well.
Yeah.
They probably are kids, maybe.
Yeah.
It's like creepy.
Yeah, it was,
Yeah. But she came out of her trance and was like, you just slept with me. And he was like, you slept with me.
Yeah. And they were like, okay, let's find the other matey.
What's his name?
So they went and found him. He was dead, very dead. He had a cross in his head. And the words were on the wall again. And she was like, I think it was me. I think I could have maybe done this, not knowing. Then the ghost of the girl appears and she's like, I'm trying to have her son or something. She's holding a unalived child. It's very disturbing actually, and like checks her stomach to see if she's pregnant, and clearly she is because she's happy with that.
We're having their baby.
Yeah, and he's like Then he gets pinned up against the wall, like how one of the other students was found, and his neck's being like pulled, ready to break, and it does. So he's dead. I don't really know why he needed to die. It's not explained why he needed to die because they did what they were meant to do, and apparently the last year, the two children that died only died because they didn't sleep with each other. And so they didn't carry on this legacy of the unborn child.
it was terrible.
But,
okay.
I mean, there are so many question marks. Why is that under the school still? Knock that down. Build the school again. I mean, why was the head teacher there? So many question marks.
That storyline was generally awful.
Yeah, then the girl just walked out.
Yeah. The last family as well. I didn't care for this storyline at all. It bored me so much.
So the dad who was a police officer. The changeling one.
Yeah.
So this was a family of 3, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And the dad was the police officer who found the children in the school the previous year, and then he had some sort of trauma. Obviously, he was traumatized from it. It was quite horrible. And then I think he left the force. He retired after that. And it's him, his wife, and their young son. What would you reckon? He's about 6?
Yeah.
About 6. Traipse in through woods to cut down a Christmas tree. I don't know why they had to do a 5-mile hike for this tree. The son's asthmatic as well. Just to cap it off, it's a real horrible experience for him. And then they find this closed off bit that says "Do not enter," don't they? With loads of Christmas trees in it, and they think, perfect, I'm going to get one of them trees. So they cut that down. As they're walking back through the forest, the son has disappeared. He wanders off. We don't know where he goes. And then they freak out, realise he's not there, start looking for him, and come across this tree with a hollowed out bit.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, and the dad puts his head or his arm in it, and something grabs him, and their son crawls out. Absolutely fine. In a tree.
Just playing in a tree. And then they go home, and the son's acting quite bizarre, like he's not using his inhaler anymore.
Yeah, he's not saying anything. He didn't say a word.
No, he's just acting really hostile.
And he's really ravenous.
Yes.
He's spooning in spaghetti, a big old amount of spaghetti.
Yeah. And the mum's slow down, and he's just and oh no, he stabs the dad's hand with a fork.
Yeah.
And the dad, why has the dad got such a short temper for his child?
I think it's because he's got issues from the police thing.
Because the mum kept having to be stop.
Yeah, just calm
the
down.
dad got so angry, which you would be mad.
He
if
did
your
get
son
stabbed with a fork.
But
because he tried to take the food away, and the child was feral and was
yeah.
Trying to take that Yule log away from your family at Christmas.
And then the mum goes to sleep, and the dad's up, researching the case or looking through pictures of the case or something.
Yeah, for some unknown reason, he doesn't have an epiphany or anything about why. I don't really know why he was looking through that. And
then you see a bit that kind of looks like the son sneaks into his mum's room and goes under the sheets.
Yeah, and we're not really sure what happens there.
Yeah, because she wakes up and then goes to her son's room and is like, oh, he's still in bed asleep, it's fine.
And then you see the reflection in the window of her son, but it's not her son.
Yeah, it's this little
some
Grebo thing. And then it comes to a head with the dad, doesn't it?
Yeah, so the dad sees that the son had unwrapped all the presents. And Osraden went into the room, started beating him.
This is what I mean. It was just a little bit hostile.
Yeah,
Yeah, they both just had hostile vibes, but the dad wasn't a changeling. He had no excuse.
Yeah, so the dad
He got
beat
his
up
belt.
the son. Yeah.
Didn't he? Yeah,
and the mum intervened, and then he went off and drank his sorrows some more.
Yeah.
And that's when the son came in.
Yeah.
And
he died, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then the mum finds the dad's body, and
he's missing a hand.
Yeah. I don't understand where she got the guy's number for the changelings thing. Was that online?
He rang her.
Oh, okay.
He saw the number plate.
I must have missed so many bits of this because I was just zoning out. Because I was like, this all isn't relevant.
Yeah, so a man in the woods had seen them take the tree, remembered their number plate, looked up the number plate to see who the owner was, to find the number, to ring her and say, is your son acting a bit weird? Does he seem like himself?
Yeah.
Did he go out of sight? And then you find him, and she was like, why are you ringing me?
But yeah,
he might have stabbed my husband's hand, and he's not said a word, and he's just been wolfing down the spaghetti and just generally weird, but...
And not using his inhaler.
He's fine. please don't call this number again.
I don't need any goods or services.
Then obviously she sees her mangled husband strangled by Christmas lights with his hand missing, and the son just sat playing with the decapitated hand, and rings the guy back. It's like, so, you were saying?
Yeah.
And then he says, you need to bring, it's not your son, it's a changeling, you need to bring him back to the forest.
Don't make him suspicious of it, because he won't come willingly. You just need to make sure that they think you're on their side, basically.
Yeah.
And she fails at that.
Yeah, well, she's holding a bat.
Yeah.
She's like, come on, let's go in the car. What's this bat? Nothing.
So she has to tie him up, doesn't she?
Well, she kind of beats it up with the bat.
Yeah.
And ties it up, brings it to the forest. And the matey's like, oh, nice one. I've been protecting these forests. And then all the changelings are like around in the forest.
And he's like, don't worry, while I'm here.
They're not going to hurt you.
Very Harry Potter Aragog vibes.
Yeah, very Hagrid. And then she accidentally shoots him.
When she did that, I was just like, you fool.
And
my patience was really starting to wear thin as it was with this whole
Yeah,
film.
just
So
like,
when
what
she
are these
did that, I
stories?
was just like,
good one. And then she's like, look, I just want my son back. And then the changeling's like, well, actually,
Okay.
I'll do you a solid since you've killed this absolute fool. And then the son came out of the tree.
yeah, in his underwear, just completely fine. They have a hug, and then it ends.
Yeah.
Yeah, so ratings. What's your rating?
Well, I gave it a 6.
What was yours? A 2?
I changed it to 3 out of 10.
Okay. I'm with Liv, it's a 3.
Yeah, I did think is 6 quite high.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah. I only liked the one twist, but again, the story didn't really make sense.
No. And it wasn't a good story. It's just when you've got 3 other really poor stories, it was the best one out of a really bad bunch.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
Yeah, it's got to be a 3 from me because, yeah, like I said, I probably half of that I zoned out of. I was just in another place.
Yeah, it wasn't the best. So I may have to amend my score to maybe a 4.
But go and
We'll
watch
go
it for
for.
yourself and comment down below what you would give it if you managed to get through it. If you don't...
I mean, if you couldn't even get through us saying it, probably not a watch for you.
I was about to say that. Probably not the best description of it to then be like, but go and watch it. It might be good. It might be better for you. And if you have any of your own Christmas horror stories or what's your favourite part of Christmas?
Yeah, we want to hear. We love Christmas. To be fair, I do love our friends' Christmas that we have.
I'm really shocked none
That
of
is
us
my
said pigs
favourite.
in blankets is the best part of Christmas.
I do love a pig in blanket.
Yeah.
But sometimes they get burnt, and I'm so upset if I get a burnt one.
Yeah. But yeah, comment down below what your favourite part of Christmas is, or if you've got any creepy Christmas stories, or if you've been a Christmas mall Santa for 20 years and you just want to have a bit of brag about it in the comments. You do you. Boo.
Yeah. Because as you can see, we're big supporters of those mall Santas.
We'll
No
support
jokes.
you.
Yeah.
But have a spooky and kooky Christmas.
And make sure that you eat lots. And
Yeah.
stay spooky, stay kooky.
And we'll see you in the new year.
Yeah. See you in the new year.
Happy New Year as well. See you later.
Bye.